How many of you have tried to motivate somebody and they're just not interested? Everybody take your hands, put them in front of you like this, please. Put them in between your eyes and your nose. Please open your hands just barely enough so you can see between them and stop. That's the window I was looking out of in prison. In prison, there's not a lot of motivation going on. In prison, there's no options. In prison, there's not empowerment or culture or values. My first day in prison, and I should warn you now because I see you're getting tense and it's late in the day, I was a psychologist there, not an inmate. My boss said, "Go meet the team. Come to my office when you're done." First person I wanted to meet, head of crisis intervention. John in prison, 6'7", 300 pounds. John had gone through 4 psychologists in a year and a half with the team. Walking me across the prison compound, asking me questions, he said, "You might be next." We got to his office and I stayed calm, and I said, "John, how do you know when an inmate's in crisis? How do you know whether they're going to come to you or you're going to go to them? What paperwork do you do? Can you show me some examples?" John looked down at me. Remember, he's 6'7". I looked up, and he said, "You're the new freaking PhD. Why don't you figure it out?" I want everybody to learn the single best technique to stay calm, cool, and collected in any conflict situation, because I believe we got conflict in the workplace. This is what you're going to do. I'm going to say a word. I want all of you to say it after me. The word is cheese. 1, 2, 3.
Cheese.
Excellent. Now, when I count to 3, you say cheese. I don't want to see a smile, and I don't want to see any teeth, and I want to see the people in the corner back there and back there doing it with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Now, you say cheese to a negaholic, and what do? Got him! Watch me send him through the moon with this one. Now, we're going to pretend for a moment you've been kidnapped. Just pretend. You're taken away from your family for 2 years, but not far away, real far. We're going to take you to the deep south, and I'm not talking about San Diego. I'm talking about Miami, Alabama, Georgia. Now, on the count of 3, I want you to say the word that you'd say so excitedly when the FBI comes and rescues you. It sounds like this, deepest, most southern accent you can muster. Yes! 1, 2, 3. Absolutely perfect. You see, when you look at somebody in conflict, right at them and say, yes, on the inside, and smile on the outside, they back off for 2 to 10 seconds, allowing you to do the most important thing in motivation. Think before you speak. Because I knew what I wanted to tell John, and if I said it, I would have been fired day 1. But I thought, my boss, culture, values, ethics, motivation, what did she do? She sent me some tapes to listen to. She said, listen to these tapes, and you'll be able to survive in prison. So I went through the scripts in those tapes. And the first thing I thought of, I looked right up, I statements, as we've heard all day, not you. And I looked up and said, I wonder if you interviewed for my job and didn't get it. He almost fell over. When you bring me to your team or company, I'll help you deal with the rest of how you're going to communicate with what we call the hostile bull. But let's get into motivation. The single most important tip for motivation, actually there isn't one. You have a handout on your table, looks like this. There's 7 keys to motivation. There's 2 pages on this handout. Please pull off the second one. It's blank, and hold it in front of you. Please hold that paper in front of you exactly like this. Here we go. Let's see if we can do the most important thing, or one of the 7, in motivating people. Please fold your paper in half like this. Crease it down the right side. Fold it in half towards you. Again. Take the top right-hand corner. So we folded it in half once. We crease the right-hand side. We fold it in half again. We take the top right-hand corner, fold it diagonally across to the opposite corner. It will not form a perfect triangle. Take the top right-hand corner, fold it diagonally across to the opposite corner. It will not form a perfect triangle. Some of you are looking around at me and saying, "What right?" You're right, not my right. Take the bottom right-hand corner and tear it off. Take the bottom right-hand corner, tear it off. You're having trouble doing that, think of a difficult person at work and tear. Please unfold your creation. Hold it high and proud above your room. Cameramen, please sweep around the room. You should all have the same design I do. If you don't, you're not going home today. Let me ask the worst leadership question I can think of. What's wrong with all of you? I gave the same instructions to everybody. Ever hear that at work? Ever send a message to the group or a person and you get different results? The appropriate leadership question is, what happened with both of us? Communication, sending a message with a clear intention and ensuring that message was understood. We've got to clarify the communication, because some of you are sitting there right now, I don't want to listen to the psychologist. When's break time? I know. And at work they're saying, I don't want to listen to you because you're not an Xer. How about that? I'm going to be running this place next year. How about that? So what we got to figure out in motivation is, what's the difference between a negaholic and an underperformer, an underachieving adult? Negaholics are plotting against you right now, thinking this showcase better been great because Monday we're going to test your skills. Underperformers are charming, intuitive, bright, and show great potential. But they keep moving the line between exceeding expectations and below average, and it's extremely inconsistent. We don't have time today, but I'll give you 4 different types of underperformers and help you deal with each one so you don't have to fire them first. You work with them and see if you can save them. If you can save them, you save money, make millions. If not, you've done everything you can, and we'll move on. Next on our list, we skipped one, PMA. Positive mental attitude. Every day, every time, no exceptions. You think it was a little frustrating in prison? We had to clock in by 8 o'clock, except you had to show up 45 minutes early to get through the security screening. Sometimes inmates did crazy things in prison, and so security shut the compound down. You don't go home when you want. Positive mental attitude. Every day, every time, no exceptions. How many of you take vitamins? Oh, we're in LA. I love it. I've spent 11 years in Miami, but I grew up here and I'm back. And it's great. Positive mental attitude. 7 vitamins I'm going to recommend you take. Bring me to your company and I'll teach you how to take them. Vitamin A, attitude. 2 tips for positive attitude. How many of you watch local news? Knock it off! You're killing yourself. They're sucking the lifeblood out of you. Orange alert, war, bad economy, weather. Political scandal, LA supervisors going bankrupt, sports. Trauma, murder, story about a cat in a tree and you're supposed to go to sleep. So if you take 15 minutes a day and listen to a positive motivational tape, Tony Robbins, Stephen Covey, Peter Drucker, thousands of others, 15 minutes a day. Take in new information once a day instead of listening to the radio. Death, war, traffic every 6 minutes. Okay? Vitamin B's belief. How many of you believe you can motivate the unmotivated? Some of you are sitting there saying, you can't motivate anybody. Got to create the environment, okay? We've been to these things before. Want to let you know right now, you create the environment and they're going to skyrocket. You tap into 10 internal motivators that everybody has, and you're going to look like a rocket scientist at work. You're going to move rocks, turn them into humans. 10 internal motivators everybody has. Vitamin C, courage. How many of you have a boss said something to you and you think, this is nuts, but you don't say anything? How many of you listen to a coworker and think, one of us got to be hospitalized, I got to figure out which? Takes courage to say something appropriately. D, how many of you show up even though it's raining? I got to tell you, 11 years in Miami, LA, you don't know what rain is. Rain is when you can't see the windshield, okay? So the next time an employee says, I couldn't come in on time, it was raining, say, what about us? We need you here. It's really important. Not, should I get you an alarm clock? E, empathy. Difference between empathy and sympathy. I come right over here and say, Frank, boy, it just must be awful working with Dave. It's brutal. Then I walk over here and say, did you know that Frank's got a hard time with Dave? And sympathy, we bleed all over everybody. Empathy. Empathy is putting yourself in their shoes and giving them an action step to move forward. So when I go to Frank and say, I work with somebody like Dave, here's what I did to be successful. Why don't you try it? If it doesn't work, get back to me. We'll figure out something because Dave's not going anywhere. F, fun. D, diligence. Thank you. Diligence, attitude, belief, courage. Diligence, you got to show up no matter what. You got to do some of the scut work you can't delegate with. E, empathy. F is fun. You've heard about that all day. You should have fun at work. You should enjoy what you do. I worked with correctional officers. I've worked with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and I taught them how to have fun, how to be motivated, how to deal with probably the worst of our population every day. And enjoy what you do. It's important. Communication, PMA, community. How many of you walk into the room and everybody stops talking? Oh, it's a great community to work in. How many of you, when you walk away, everybody goes, oh, God, finally gone? How many of you got people at work, they're disappointed they see your car in the parking lot? How many of you know that your employees got lives outside of you? Are you paying attention? We picked community. I picked a charity that my whole team wanted to work on in prison. We raised more money than any non-corporate charity sponsor for the breast cancer walk in Miami. $15,000. I saw leadership in people that I've never seen before. Thank you. Turn them on. Create the environment. Make it happen. So, PMA, communication, community, environment. Do we treat each other well or put them down? Do we make fun of people right in front of the room, or do we make fun of events? Geez, ethics. We stealing the company blind? Say, don't worry about that balance sheet. Bill Kay will fix it. How do we treat people? How do we contribute to the economy? How many of you get up Friday, you're thinking tonight, it's outrageous, it's exceptional. Saturday's great. Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, it hits you, nausea. Dave's going to show up at work again. Rocky hasn't missed a day in 15 years. He keeps telling me what to do. Do you go into work with passion? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Do you struggle every day to find a motivator for yourself, for the team, for the company, and keep driving forward? Make it happen with passion. Passion is just as contagious as negativity. You walk in with excitement, but every day, every time, no exceptions. Not just next week. And when you do, it transfers to everybody else. Written goals. You've heard about it all day long. If you don't write it down, it doesn't happen. Kids, traffic, taxes, accidents. So you're going to write down a goal right now for me. You're going to make it happen. Everybody get your pens out. Write this down. Bring Dr. Grossman to my company to go top down, bottom up, because I don't work with just middle management, so that afterwards everybody goes, oh great, the people up above still are morons. We're going to work with everybody, top down, bottom up, and end the conflict, create motivation, deal with negaholics, focus on helping underperformers either get going or get out. And we'll transform the place so that we make it happen. It's been my pleasure to serve you, and I look forward to coming to meet your needs.